hope everybody having a blessed day today. You know what I'm saying? If you like that song that intro the podcast, that was a single that I just released, and I'm gonna drop in the description where you can listen to my new singles. I have two new singles, one called Egregious and the other one called Guerrilla Warfare. It's a tribute to the Hot Boys, and I'm tributing the Hot Boys because of the accomplishments they did in Black History Month. But I know y'all see the title of the podcast. And cheers, pour up, toast up. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all see the title of the podcast, Artificial Ignorance. I know people are familiar with the term artificial intelligence, but I think what people are doing with the AIs or whatever is ignorance. It's like controlling the human experience. And before I get into what I want to talk about on the podcast, I want to say that the reason the podcast was created is because I'm a fan of podcasts, and I just recently learned about a new podcast. I'm a fan of podcasts. I'm a real big fan of podcasts, and like my introduction to podcasts was Joe Button. Before it was called the Joe Button Podcast, it was called the. I think I'll name this podcast later. And even though the other one that I'm about to mention is not a podcast, it has like the intangibles, and it's like, you know what I mean, set up like a podcast. But the Star Report is a great show. It's a show that I've been shouted out on multiple occasions, and I appreciate Star, and I appreciate the content that he creates. He educates people with a lot of foolishness. But okay, so what I learned today, I learned about Bill Gates and Rashida Jones. Rashida Jones is a mixed individual, and Bill Gates. Everybody know who Bill Gates is, and they have a podcast called "Ask the Big Questions." And you know what I'm saying? I suggest everybody go check it out. Ask the Big Questions. And I'm a firm like believer and listener of the audio book app on the phone, and I appreciate the audio book app, Audible. And your first month, like if you're a subscriber of this podcast, your first month, I'll pay for your first month of Audible. If you leave something in the comment section, if you comment, tell me something that you learned from these Cabernet conversations. So I'm gonna play a clip from part two, the episode part two that I learned. But before I do that, I want to define and break down the definitions of things. You notice what I do? I break down definitions. I read the definition and I break it down my thought process. Like it's a lot of information on this internet or whatever, and just you know what I'm saying, like weed through the bullshit, man, because it's so much. We're in an age right now where it's a lot of information, but is it informing you on anything? So, okay, the definition of artificial intelligence. My thought process of algorithms and artificial intelligence before we go into the definition though is like they know what I want before I want it. Like how the hell, you know what I'm saying? That's what made me fast this month is Black History Month off of social media, and just started creating my own content because like they know what I want before I want it. I'm tired of that. I know what I want to purchase. You see what I'm saying? And algorithms, you know what I mean? It's rhythms, and people be stressed out over views and streams and subscriptions and all of that. It ain't that serious, man. The world was fine the way it was before we had all this technology. Okay, so let me break down the definition. Artificial intelligence, AI, refers to the simulation of human intelligence and machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions. Mimic their actions. The term may also be applied to any machine that exhibits traits associated with the human mind, such as learning and problem solving. The ideal characteristics of artificial intelligence is its ability to rationalize and take actions that have the best chance of achieving a specific goal. A subset of artificial intelligence is machine learning. So artificial intelligence at the end of the day is learning our traits and our behaviors. Okay, so let me break down the definition of algorithms now. An algorithm is a set of instructions designed to perform a specific task. This can be a simple process, such as multiplying two numbers, or a complex operation, such as playing a compressed video file, or in a computer programming. Algorithms are often created as functions. Okay, so the reason I read those definitions is because, like, what happens when artificial intelligence and algorithms know us better than we know ourselves. Because the human get content. We get content with learning. You know what I'm saying? Some people think that after I left high school, I don't have to learn no more. I don't have to educate and continue to educate myself. I don't have to read books. I don't have to continue to learn. I'm making money now. I'm happy. I'm making money now. So what happens though? That's just my question. That's the reason I read those definitions. I'm listening to this podcast, Ask the Big Questions by Bill Gates. And it's tripping me out about like what happens when these artificial intelligence knows better than we know ourselves. For real though. Just think about that. And if you think about that and you interested in that, leave something in the comment section, man, so we can further the discussion. For real. So I know y'all see on the banner or whatever, I had Dave Chappelle and Bill Gates. I'm gonna break down the Dave Chappelle thought process here in a minute though, but I'm gonna continue on with what I was learning in this podcast. You know what I mean? So on the Bill Gates and Rashida Jones podcast, they had a special guest on, and he was talking about like the challenges of equality and learning equality and learning the process of equality. So I'm gonna play the, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna play the YouTube, the visual, because I know it's Bill Gates and they might shut me down or whatever, but I'm gonna play the audio version. Let's listen to it together.
Right. Let's talk a little bit more about your data and kind of what you found. So you look at very, very kind of small focused neighborhoods and have found that even a couple blocks away, the opportunity map would look completely different. I'm a Los Angeles native, and so I'm very aware of the drastic difference in opportunity and wealth, like just in my own city. Can you give us an example of like the most kind of dramatic, like side by side opportunity?
Yeah, so let's go to LA and let me just give you a bit of context on how we do this type of analysis. So what we do in our group is track big data. So this is data coming from anonymized tax and census records in this case. And the power of that is you can trace the roots of things like poverty and incarceration back to the neighborhoods where kids grew up by essentially following millions of kids over their childhood and linking them to their parents and their neighborhoods and so forth. And so let me give you an example from LA, central LA, which I'm sure you're familiar with, traditionally a relatively high poverty area with lots of challenges over time. And so I want to pick one neighborhood that I think captures the point well. So Watts, which is a very high poverty area, public housing projects and so forth. Here's a statistic that I found shocking when we first saw it in the data. If you look at a Black man who grows up in Watts in a low-income family, there's a 45% chance that he's incarcerated on a single day, the date of the 2010 census when we're measuring the statistic. And so if you think about then what that means over time, what are the odds that that child ends up incarcerated at some point in their lifetime? It's going to be like 60, 70%. And so you basically have no shot at that point, right? Because even after you come out of incarceration, of course, that leaves a mark on your record that makes future employment difficult and so forth.
Changes your whole trajectory.
Changes your whole trajectory. So on the one hand, you might react to that by saying, I kind of know being from LA, it's a tough neighborhood. I know there are challenges there, maybe not that extreme, but here's a statistic that might be surprising to you, Rashida. So if you go a couple miles south to Compton, which is a different neighborhood than Watts, but I don't think you would think of it as like a super affluent place, et cetera. But if you look at that same number in Compton, it's about 6.5% as opposed to 45%. Wow.
Let me stop it right there. Like listening to that and growing up in the hood or whatever, and knowing the things that I know now, I never thought of high opportunity, low opportunity neighborhoods. And where do you want to raise your child, and what consequences and circumstances you willing to take to get out of those neighborhoods? I was just on the phone with a friend earlier from back home, and he was telling me, when you going to move back to the K, Trail? When you going to move back to the K? And I told him never. And he was like, why? And I had just listened to this podcast before, and I was like, Knoxville, Tennessee is a low opportunity city. It's not that much opportunity in that city. And where I'm currently at now is high opportunity. It's more opportunity to become successful. And you can think about that in areas of city. Like she was just talking about Watts in LA, where LA is one of the most opportunist like places in the United States. But 45% of the males is gonna go to jail before they 21 there. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous at the end of the day. For real, man. And the opportunities decrease when you go down the street. I don't want that for a child of mine. I don't want that for myself. I didn't want to be raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I can imagine being raised in Mississippi or growing up in Arkansas, somewhere where it's a low opportunity neighborhood. And you need to think about that, like staying or leaving. Is it really worth the risk? Do you really want to live your life completely, your whole life in a low opportunity city or a low opportunity neighborhood? That's ridiculous, man. Not me. I'm not going to do that. So furthering on with the podcast, I want to celebrate someone. I want to celebrate Stevie Wonder, for real. And I want to know if y'all knew this. Stevie Wonder was the first African-American to win a Grammy. And we're just going to look at a little bit of the video and celebrate Stevie Wonder, man. Black History Month. We got to do that. We got to do that. Got to celebrate. This whole month, I'm celebrating on every last show, every show I do. I'm celebrating some African-American individual on every last podcast I do for something that they have accomplished. But let's check Stevie Wonder out for winning the first Grammy for African-American in 1974.
Wait a minute.
We got to see who the winner is.
They act like they had forgot about our stuff. Wait a minute.
Don't try to take it all, Richard. Give me some right.
You know.
And the winner,
Little Rich.
the winner is Superstition Stevie Wonder! We are happy, Steve. We're happy, Grammys are happy to you.
May I say this to, first of all, you. I would like for you all, please, not to give this to me, but to my mother. This is my...
Then it goes to my mom.
My mother will accept it.
Big salute to Stevie Wonder. Big salute, man. And at the end of the day, what I want to say about Stevie Wonder accomplishments, not only is he the first black to win a Grammy, but Stevie Wonder is the only musician to win Album of the Year with 3 consecutive studio albums. Big salute to Stevie. Big salute to Stevie Wonder. For real. And that's all I can say. Big salute, man. But okay, so Dave Chappelle, he had a message that CNN announced that I didn't even hear or whatever that kind of tripped me out. But Dave Chappelle, you know what I'm saying? He one of the funniest comedians. My favorite of all time was Bernie Mac. Rest in peace. Big Mac. You know what I'm saying? Salute Big Mac. One point in time, it was Martin Lawrence. I remember when Martin Lawrence, he brought Dave Chappelle to the light. And one of those movies, I can't remember the name of the movie, but I remember Dave Chappelle being in it. One time it was Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? It never been Kevin Hart, but no hate though. No hate towards Kevin Hart. He's funny. He's very accomplished. But I like some of the things that Dave Chappelle say. And at this moment right now, Dave Chappelle is my favorite comedian. And he had something to say about the Capitol riots. And we about to check it out right now. Know what I'm saying? We about to check it out right now. Dave Chappelle.
Leave it to Dave Chappelle to spotlight the hypocrisy of Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol. In a new stand-up routine, Chappelle points out that many of the Trump supporters who took part in the insurrection on January 6th are the very same people who criticized former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee during the national anthem as he silently and nonviolently protested the treatment of Black Americans by police officers.
Watch the tapes. Watch that crowd that told Colin Kaepernick he can't kneel during a football game, try to beat a police officer to death with an American flag. Look at that. That's what white people did. They felt what black people have been feeling for 400 years. For 30 minutes, stormed the Capitol and rubbed their on the walls. They carried a Confederate flag through the rotunda. The Confederate Army didn't even do that. Mother, you went very far. It was a simple question. Do you have a country or not? And you said no. My God, man, we're in quite the pickle. Aren't
hard to decide.
Man, my man said we're in quite the pickle, aren't we? I agree with the passion. I agree with the thought process of they felt some sort of pain behind losing the presidency. I felt that, but one thing I don't agree with that Dave Chappelle said is that they felt the same pain that black folks felt. You know what I'm saying? It's been years, decades, and forever, the pain that black folks felt. But I can agree they had their moment. And those same people that stormed that Capitol are the same people that was criticizing Colin Kaepernick for kneeling, and they were saying that he was disrespecting the flag. Y'all was disrespecting the flag. Y'all disrespected the police, calling them pigs and all kind of shit. And y'all saying that he was disrespecting. I agree with that statement. And at the end of the day, man, big salute Dave Chappelle. And moving forward with the podcast, the last little topic I want to talk about is the NFL changing? Like, the NFL changing. Is people wanting their free everywhere, like in jobs and racism? Everybody wants their freedom now. And the NFL is starting to become like BA. The players making the decisions. If you owners want to win, the players going to be making the decisions. And right now we got J.J. Watt coming out. He ready to leave Texas. And he peacefully got that greeting to leave Texas. And then you got Deshaun Watson. He ain't been able to leave yet. And I'm going to play a little clip of what Stephen A. had to say about Deshaun Watson release. Right quick. You know what I'm talking about?
I told y'all from the very start of the Deshaun Watson saga that things were a lot worse in Houston than we knew publicly. Yet some people still wanted to direct their criticism towards Watson. Brett Favre, Dick Vermeil, saying Watson was too young, that he didn't know his place. Well, now what? Where's the criticism for J.J. Watt now that he wanted the same thing? I'm waiting. We know what time it is. There's no criticism coming at all. The Texans didn't hunker down and say that they refused to let J.J. Watt go. Oh, no. They treated him like a man. Deshaun Watson hasn't been afforded the same treatment. In fact, the Texans have doubled down on him again in their treatment of Watson. Cal McNair says he isn't budging. The Texans treat J.J. Watt like a man and Deshaun Watson like a petulant child, I guess, having a tantrum. I wish I was surprised.
My man said, I wish I was surprised. I wish I was surprised too, Stephen A. For real, at the end of the day. And some people just gonna have to get it through their head that the game changed. The game ain't the same. The game ain't the way it used to be. And it's not gonna ever be the way it used to be. The NFL is about to go to a whole totally different direction. Right now, you got like Dak Prescott, man. He ain't got his contract yet. Dak ain't got his contract yet. Russell Wilson, he won out of Seattle. A.J. Green, he leaving the Bengals. Clowney moving on. Patrick Peterson, he won't be with the Cardinals no more. The NFL about to look totally different. You know what I'm saying? The way Brady left and he went and got a ring that first year, teams about to start linking up and clicking up players, and they get ready to start making moves. And owners going to have to get with it or just continue to lose. And people ain't going to want to continue to see those L's and continue to pack those stadiums and paying those high prices to see people and you losing and losing and losing all over again. But before I leave out the podcast, I want to say peace, love, plenty of abundance. If you're enjoying the content, like, comment, subscribe, drop something in the Cash App. I appreciate everybody, man. Peace, love, plenty of abundance. Go and get your money.